Today, we're talking about crashing, or better yet, not crashing, right? The last thing you ever want to do is crash. It's expensive and the likelihood of an injury is quite high. But here's the thing. I'm not going to show you a bunch of crash videos and tell you what the other guy did wrong, because that's not what you need. What you need is to understand the fundamental reason why riders crash, so you can focus on strategies that actually work to keep you from finding yourself rubber side up. So here's the 7 reasons why riders crash, and I guarantee if you pay attention to these 7 things and remove them from your riding, you're gonna have a much better chance of surviving all the variables we have to face as riders. Hi, my name is Dave, and I've been a professional motorcycle coach for 25 years. I taught state basic and experienced riding courses for over a decade. I'm certified with USMCA, and I'm a champion certified coach with Yamaha Champ School. And in fact, everything I'm going to talk about today can be found by going through Champ U training courses, but more on that in a minute. Now, there are a lot of things out of our control, and any one of us could get caught out on our next ride. But to measurably reduce our chances of crashing, we need to focus on factors within our control, things that we can take responsibility for. And the first one is a loss or lack of focus. It happens to the best of us. I was riding in Oregon a few years ago and was trying to navigate around some road closures because of wildfires in the area, and I was thinking about how to route us to our hotel for that night. So I lost focus and I almost ran off the road. Now, an irresponsible rider would blame the decreasing radius corner or the crumbly asphalt or the bad visibility because of how dense the trees are in Oregon. But what caused my near miss? I wasn't focused on where I was and what I was doing. My mind was elsewhere, and it could have ended very badly. There are a few ways to address this, and number one is before I get on my bike, I take a second and I take a breath, and I center myself on where I am and what I'm about to do. I get myself in the right headspace. When I'm riding, if I catch my mind if I catch my mind wandering. When I'm riding, if I catch my mind wandering, I talk out loud to myself. I'll say one of my many mantras to get my head right. Focus on where you are and what you're doing. Now, incidentally, if you're interested in taking any course from Yamaha Champ School, from any number of their online courses to even their in-person riding schools, that's your coupon code. Use FOCUS, F-O-C-U-S, for a nice little discount. It's not an affiliate link or anything. I don't get any kind of kickback, but it is such an amazing program that every rider, no matter what kind of bike you ride, no matter your riding goals, you will benefit from Champ School. Number 2, abruptness. Now, the language of our sport only makes this worse. We'll talk about hitting the brakes or whacking or snapping the throttle, banging a downshift, flicking the bike into a corner, and I could go on and on. But words matter, and those words need to be eliminated from our vocabulary. Never hit the brakes. Instead, gently squeeze the brakes and then build pressure. Never whack the throttle. Instead, gently roll on the throttle. Once the weight of the bike has shifted to the rear wheel, then we can spool it up. Never flick the bike into a corner. Instead, progressively twist the bike into the bend. And we can fix this by thinking a lot about the first and last 5% of every control: braking, throttle, and steering. We need to allow time for the bike's weight to shift onto the tire we need to use. Ease into the front brake, then build pressure. And then when we're finished braking, ease back off that last 5% of brake pressure. Practice this one by pushing your bike in the garage. Slowly squeeze the brake until you can feel the brake pads drag, and then bring the bike to a smooth stop. Push the bike forward with the brake on, but don't just let go of the brake. Slowly ease the brake off to control how the bike moves forward. Never brake in a corner is bad advice. Never brake in a corner abruptly is good advice. Number 3 is rushing corners. Now, I was taught that the only way to safely ride a motorcycle was to be completely off the brakes before corner tip-in. And that led me to believe that the only way to become a faster rider or to keep up with my riding buddies was to brake late, brake hard, get off the brakes quickly, snap the bike into the bend, and get back on the gas as soon as I could. Now, how many problems are you seeing with that strategy already? Now, if I ever got it wrong, I was scolded that I was going too fast and that I needed to slow down. But I was already the slowest person in the group. How were all these other riders so much faster than me? So what this method that I was taught implies is that being fast means we should rush corners, which is 100% wrong. Rushing corners leads to excessive lean angles and excessive risk, crossing the double yellow line and running off the road. We need to move our focus more towards how we get out of corners. Go to the brakes earlier, carry them for longer but with less pressure. This gives you so much more control and allows you to be so much more precise. I mean, I really don't care how quickly I get into a corner. If I'm trying to be quick, I only care about getting the bike pointed out of the corner so I can accelerate when the road is straight. Number 4, repeating mistakes. When I was new to track riding, I kept overcooking my corner entrances. I was trying to be fast, right? So I'd throw lean angle at the problem so I wouldn't run wide. And I'd get flustered by everyone blowing past me on corner exit. And then I'd overcook the next corner and then the next one until things caught up with me. I was trying to fix my mistakes by throwing lean angle and throttle at every apex until I hit the foot peg so hard that the bike popped up and I ran off the track. Now, fortunately, the gravel was so deep that the bike just came to a dead stop and I fell off, and the bike just stayed there in the deep gravel, bolt upright. The bike never fell over. Now, I wasn't going too fast. I was one of the slowest riders out there. But what was I doing wrong? I kept repeating the same mistake, hoping for a different result. Now, I was lucky that I was at a track and going so slow, because what could have been a crash is now a funny anecdote. Einstein is often attributed with saying, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. I mean, it's absurd to repeat the same thing and expect a different outcome. Failing to correct errors in our riding essentials dramatically increases the likelihood of crashing. Number 5, cold crap or underinflated tires. A tire's optimum operating temperature is around 150 degrees, which is about 65 degrees Celsius. I mean, that's warm. If it's a cold day, it rained, it's raining, it's early morning, it's gonna take a lot longer for your tires to come up to temperature. And if your tire pressure isn't set correctly, or if you have old or worn tires, that's also going to affect how much grip you have. Now, Champ School has this fantastic video that goes into tire temperature in detail, and if you want to learn more, I'm going to put a link down to it in the description. But give it time for your tires to come up to temperature before you get frisky. Make sure you have good tires and that the tire pressure is set correctly. Number 6, overconfidence. Now, if you want to start a fun conversation at your next bike night, ask folks to regale you with the time where overconfidence got the best of them and they got into trouble. And what's interesting about how many of these stories aren't just about overconfidence in skill, but often overconfidence in their ability to ride around a problem with the bike. Overconfidence is dangerous because it can lead us to underestimate risk or overestimate our abilities and neglect critical safety practices. And this mindset increases the likelihood of errors such as misjudging road speed or road conditions, which is why it's such a big reason as to why we crash. So stay humble. But if you've been a victim of your own overconfidence, let me know in the comments. These stories are always worth telling. Number 7. Failing to adapt to changes. Now, I was on a group ride with a bunch of friends and we were riding up East Canyon, which is one of our tighter local canyons, and it's filled with these fantastic 180-degree switchbacks. And over the top is one really nasty downhill decreasing radius off-camber 180-degree bend where you can't see the exit until pretty late. When I did get visibility, there was this giant rock right where I was planning on going. But I just stayed with the brakes a little bit longer so I could miss it without a problem. But I glanced in my rearview mirror as the guy behind me completely center punched it. The bike went into a violent head shaker, and the rider, who we shall call Arthur, managed to stay on the bike and get it slowed down almost to a stop before he fell over on the side of the road. His front wheel had shattered. How it wasn't worse than it was is beyond me. But when I asked him why he hit the rock, he looked at me blankly and said, "It was on my line." I get questions all the time like, how can I still ride fast in the rain? You can't. You have to slow down. You have to adjust to the conditions. You can't run the ideal line through a corner if you can't see the entire corner. You can't always ride in this or that side of the lane. And that's one of the core values of every strategy I endorse. Every corner I enter into, I'm going in with a plan that I will probably have to make an adjustment somewhere along the way, be it gravel, a giant rock, a driveway, or a car over the center line. I legitimately do not care if my vanishing point is getting closer to me or moving away from me. I'm prepared to adjust my speed, come to a stop, adjust my lean, my line, right up until I can see my exit and verify that it's clear. Look, I think the point of all this is that failure is not a good teacher. I grew up skiing a lot as a kid, and one of the things often said was, if you're not falling, you're not learning, which suggests that failure is a good teacher. And that's one thing if you're trying to figure out French fries and pizza slices and fluffy snow. It's entirely something else on a 100 horsepower motorcycle capable of triple-digit speeds in second gear. The consequences of failure on a motorcycle can be deadly. The other problem with learning from failure is that assumes that you'll fully be able to understand all the variables involved so you can correct them to avoid future mistakes, when in reality that's rarely the case. The learning process should be both manageable and measurable, following a clear progression. We start by learning the theory and the fundamentals, laying the solid foundation. Next, we focus on mastering the technique, ensuring we understand how to apply it effectively. Consistency comes from repetition of best practices, reinforcing the technique until it becomes second nature. Now, if you want to learn more about this, you've got to check out this video. Special thanks to our channel members. You guys help me keep all this content free and available to everyone. Thank you to Champ School. Check out their offerings. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this and learned something. Please click like, subscribe, and share this with your buddies. And consider joining our new email list for more riding tips, links to content you may have missed, opportunities, and more, including access to our Discord server. Thanks so much for watching. Ride on and ride well.